Undercard. We're going to talk a little about the top 5 trilogies of all time. Stop. Go. All right. Start over from the top.
We're live.
And now we are live. Inside Boxing Live. Couldn't be any more live right now. Dan Canobbio here in studio at John Boy Media offices with my guy, Chris Algieri. He's here in the flesh. He flew from Florida to be with us. Chris, welcome to the John Boy Media offices. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the John Boy hat, so now I'm John Boy official.
It's official.
I'm in the studio. I had to leave the sweltering heat of South Florida to come to New York. It's been very nice. Been here a couple hours, but ready to work.
Yeah, so we just watched Canelo and Triple G get on the scale. First time we've ever seen Golovkin at 168 pounds, a career middleweight.
Yeah.
A stubborn career middleweight. Never wanted to move up to fight Ward. Never wanted to move down to fight Mayweather. I am a 160-pounder. First time we saw him at 168. What did you see from Triple G up on the scale?
Well, first of all, being stubborn is one thing. Ching is another.
Yeah.
So the money will get you up, especially Canelo-type money. But honestly, I thought he looked good. I mean, he obviously has the height advantage on Canelo. He was standing quite a bit taller than him, which obviously is nothing new. He hasn't grown since the last 2 fights. But he looked filled in. He looked strong. His upper body looked strong. Not as lean in the midsection as we've seen him in the last couple fights, but that's to be expected. But next to Canelo, I didn't see a size difference in terms of Triple G moving up in weight and looking like the smaller man.
You've moved up before. You went from 140 to 147. Like I just said, Golovkin has spent his entire career at 160. I feel like this is something in the fight that hasn't been talked about a lot.
Yeah.
That is him fighting at 168. Is it an advantage for Golovkin at age 40 not have to boil down to 160, or is it carrying around extra weight?
So this one is a little different. Like you talked about me moving up in weight. 7 pounds for me was a big change. And a lot of the guys that I was fighting were actually bigger guys coming down. So that gap was different. This is different. Canelo's not truly a 68-pounder. They fought at 60. Canelo has fought as low as 47 or 48. So he's not like a bigger guy coming down. They're still the same 2 guys fighting, but I do believe that Canelo has put on a lot of lean tissue. He moved up to 75 twice since they fought, since the last time. So him boiling down to 68, he should be the bigger man in the ring. That being said, I don't think it's as big as the difference as you might think, but you never know. I mean, Canelo being the younger guy, he looked pretty lean this week. Looked like he was cutting down. Triple G looked healthy.
That's good. We're ready for a big fight. I cannot wait for this fight. We've talked about it for a while now. Boxing fans, I would say, were mixed emotions for this fight. They did not want to admit that they were pumped for it. They're like, we've seen it twice. They haven't fought since 2018. I thought Golovkin, I'm speaking for like the general boxing fan right now. Golovkin already won the first fight. You won't need to see a second one. There's no reason to see a third one. But this happens all the time in boxing, at least for me. It's like, if I'm not super pumped for a fight, but the closer it comes, and now that they're stepping on the scale, and now that I know in 24 hours from now we're getting ready for a huge fight night, that's when I get a little more excited. That's when it amps up and like, damn, like we're going to see Triple G and Canelo in a ring for the last time.
Well, I think I was probably with everyone else. I wasn't as pumped. And then I watched the first 2 fights earlier this week. Been super pumped since then. And, I mean, these guys, they make classics. Their first 2 fights were fantastic. Super hotly contested, back-and-forth fights. The ebb and flow type classics that we're used to seeing from 30 years ago. So if you're not excited about this fight, go watch their first 2 fights. You'll be excited for this fight.
My boy Hagler, not Marvin, in the chat, Triple G carrying the extra weight could be tiring. Do you agree with that? Interesting
thought process. I don't know. It depends on how he treated the camp. So if he gained muscle, he gained tissue, he gained mass, then yes, he has more mass to carry around. If he just didn't cut the last week and just came in as he normally does, it's not going to make a difference. So that's something that I think the casual fan might not understand. No matter how good a shape you're in, guys will still cut water the week of the fight. Maybe he just didn't do that. Maybe he got in the same shape that he normally does and then just didn't cut the water the last couple days.
Nice. I love this. We're going live. I love being live. We're here with you here for the next hour or so talking about this big fight, Triple G and Canelo Alvarez. We got our boy Ronnie. He's got his own camera now. Say what's up, Ronnie.
What's up, Ronnie?
Ronnie, you are, I wouldn't say you're a boxing fanatic. And in fact, you probably didn't watch any boxing.
Soon to be boxing fanatic.
I was safe to say you didn't watch much boxing at all until you linked up with this show. Are you excited for Triple G Canelo?
Oh, I'm ecstatic. I mean, I knew Triple G and Canelo as a very casual boxing fan. This was one of the few fights that I would recognize. So I'm actually very excited to watch this fight now, kind of with a little bit more knowledge.
Sitting next to me and Chris, and that's a big thing. Tomorrow night, we made the announcement on social media. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., right here on this YouTube page, the John Boy Boxing YouTube page, we are hosting a live watch party from our beautiful live stream lounge here in New York City at the John Boy Media offices. Me, Chris, Ronnie, Chris's brother is coming, Chris's nephew is coming, some John Boy employees maybe will show up. We're going to be streaming the pay-per-view the entire night. We're going to be reacting. We're going to give analysis. So if you order the pay-per-view and you want a secondary broadcast, then you can tune into us. If you don't order the pay-per-view and you want to follow along with us, we're going to be sending out clips the entire time. Really excited for this. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. over on the John Boy Boxing YouTube page. We're going to have some fun, Chris.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm normally suited and booted and ringside, for these fights. I'm not this time.
Wait, you're not wearing a suit tomorrow?
I am not.
All right,
no,
I got to change my fit check.
I might
thought
even
we were.
be a little
fit check.
A little more casual than even this. But to be relaxed in a recliner and hanging out with some friends and speaking casually, I think will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so that's tomorrow night, 8 p.m., John Boy Boxing YouTube page for our live watch party. It's going to be a great time. Before we get into talking more about this main event, let's talk a little about the undercard, Chris. We didn't talk too much about that on the show we did on Thursday. It's pretty good undercard. You got Bam Rodriguez. You got Gabe Rosado. People know Gabe Rosado's got a tough fight. You got Ammo Williams opening it up. Ammo Williams, Kieran Conway, first fight of the night. Ammo is a guy that I think Matchroom's pretty high on. 160-pounder, explosive. Obviously, we know he had his mental health issues, and he's back in the ring. So we're going to see Ammo Williams lead off the show, Kieran Conway. I know you've covered a lot of Ammo's fights.
Yeah, someone else who's really high on Ammo Williams is myself. I've called a few of his fights. I've interviewed him a few times. Spoke to him many times outside of the ring. Actually called some fights with him. So
yeah, he's good on the mic.
He's very good on the mic. Very good on the mic, and he's even better in the ring. So looking forward to this step-up type fight. Conway is a very, very tough guy, very capable. So this is definitely a step up for Ammo Williams. But, I mean, Ammo has been phenomenal in his step-ups. His Cordell Booker fight, his last fight, which I thought was going to be, I mean, it was a step-up, but I thought it was going to be a test, was not. He blew him out in 2 rounds. I mean, he's that level of prospect. We could see the same thing on Saturday night because he is that good. Ammo Williams is that dangerous. He is that explosive. And as tough and durable and solid as Conway is, I think Ammo Williams is just that kind of a special talent.
Yeah, he fought last on the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano card. First, it was on the before the bell. I remember I'm going to get in my seat before this fight. I didn't make it to my seat because he knocked him out, and that was his last fight. He's going up against Kieran Conway, a UK fighter. What do you know about Conway? Not much of a power shot. I know he moves around in there a lot, so I think Ammo's going to be try to cut off the ring and get a hold of him.
So not known for a power punch if you look at his record, but he hits harder than his record. He's a little bit deceiving in terms of that sense. He fought Cisco, and he actually dropped him in that fight, and it was a very, very close fight. It was somewhat controversial decision at 154. This fight's being fought at 160, which I don't believe is going to help Conway. But like I said, he is a very capable guy. He's solid. He's got great condition. He's been the distance. He's been the rounds. But he's got a bigger man, a very explosive man in front of him, and it's really going to come down to whether he can deal with the athleticism and the power of Ammo Williams.
Shout out to Siempre El Reyes, who's watching with us on YouTube. Favorite boxing podcast. It's
We
right
are?
here. We are.
We are already.
Yes. There you go. We got a lot more coming. Over on the undercard as well, Gabe Rosado. Like you said, when we were watching the weigh-in, like Gabe, he just can't die.
No.
He just keeps popping up. He's like a cockroach.
Dude, or a cat.
And I mean that respectfully, Gabe.
Yeah, or a cat. He's got 9 lives. I don't know what life he's on at this point, but it's getting a little bit long in the tooth. But no, I mean he is a super capable guy, solid as solid gets. But he's got a very tough fight in front of him. Akhmedov. I called his fight against Gongora, which was a tremendous fight. Gongora fought the fight of his life, ended up pulling out the victory, late TKO. but Akhmadiyov was phenomenal throughout. And so I'm curious to see how he's rebounded since the Gongora loss. But Gabe is always in there, and he's always there, and he's always going to test you. But we'll see. I mean, when I looked at the weigh-in, Akhmadiyov looked a lot bigger.
He's built
tall.
like a freaking...
They're built on different things.
Yeah.
So, which is to be expected. I mean, Gabe is not really a 68-pounder.
36 years old, Gabe Rosado. 26-15-1. That is a throwback record.
Throwback record. I'm glad to see a guy like that still getting these big fights, though. And
He's
still
like
being on
the
big,
Nate Diaz.
still being on big cards, not big fights.
Big cards. He's like the Nate Diaz of boxing, where in the UFC, Nate Diaz is obviously celebrated because he fought everyone. I think he has 13 losses, Nate Diaz, in the UFC.
Which is a lot more common in UFC, not in boxing.
That's the one thing I wish that boxing would adopt from the UFC. It would be... Let's make these losses. Let's normalize losses. Let's normalize. I think Israel Adesanya. Now we're in a UFC podcast now. Israel Adesanya went up to what, like 205? I could be wrong here. And he lost.
The Blachowicz, yeah.
And it didn't really matter. He went back down to his normal weight, and now he's headlining an MSG. Like in boxing, Canelo goes up to 175. Fights Bivol
and
loses,
drops down to fifth on the
drops down on people's pound for pound list. People are saying he's washed.
Yep.
We did a whole segment on our show last time. Are we showing any signs of slippage? It's the one thing from the UFC and MMA world that I wish boxing was more like. It's like, 15 losses. That's probably a lot, but 5, 6, 7, like we were talking about earlier. De La Hoya. Yeah. 5 losses on his career, but you remember those nights, those Vargas nights. You remember those nights when he fought Mayweather, when he fought Pacquiao, when he lost to Trinidad. Like, you remember those nights. So I wish that was a little boxing could pick that up.
Listen, I agree. I think my career would be a little bit different if that was a lot more, because I fought everybody. I fought every opportunity that came up. I fought. I didn't protect my record at all. Mm-hmm. So for me, I was old school in that sense. I didn't really worry about losses, and if they happen, they happen. But I want the biggest fights. We're not seeing that. We're seeing a lot. We spoke about this earlier off air as well. A lot of these guys are not fighting their big major fights until they're in their 30s, where in the 80s, most guys were almost done with their career by the 30s. Sugar Ray Leonard and Benitez fought in their early 20s. We're not seeing that as much, but like we said, there's kind of a resurgence of that. We're seeing the Lomachenko and Teofimo. We're seeing Haney getting these early opportunities. So hopefully these guys fight each other and we see more of that.
Yeah, Akhmadiyov is one of those type of guys. 20. Oh, he's not. He's actually older. I thought he was a little bit younger. But going back to Gabe Rosado, you took a look at his box rec. Jeez. You got Shane Mosley, his last fight. That was a close fight.
Shane Mosley Jr.
Yeah, Shane Mosley Jr.
Yep.
Majority decision loss. He fought Jaime Munguia, which was a back and forth fight. Yep. Obviously lost, but he gave Munguia hell. He had that KO over Bekta Bully, Melikuziev. Awesome. Knockout of the year. Our boy Justin Shackle presented him with the knockout of the year trophy before it. That's the reason why he's on this card, is because of that knockout gave him some life. Obviously, he fought Danny Jacobs. He fought Golovkin. I remember being at that fight at the theater.
I was there as well.
Bloody mess Golovkin made of him. So that is one of the.
I was also
fights.
at the David Lemieux fight.
Lemieux versus Rosado.
Rosado had his eyes shut.
Yeah,
which a lot of people likened to my fight with Provodnikov, and I was just like, oof. That I didn't think it looked like that from the outside. But it's rough.
It's rough. Gabe Rosado's been in so many fights. He's on this fight card too. Then we get to Bam Rodriguez.
Yes.
Jesse Rodriguez. And I heard a chirp from one of our fans. Love the show, but I wish you guys would have talked about Bam more. I was like, I'm saving it for today's show because he deserves more than just, quick little thing. Bam Rodriguez right now, in my opinion, is the front runner for Fighter of the Year.
Yeah.
Beat Quadras. Stopped Sor Rungvisai. Now he's going to fight 3 times. We just talked about how these guys don't fight. These young fighters only fight twice a year, or these young fighters don't get into big fights until they're in their 30s. Bam Rodriguez is the example of someone that's bucking that trend. You're talking about a guy who's 23 years old, fighting in his 3rd fight of the year, taking big risks, moving up in weight, moving down in weight. It could be a titleist in multiple divisions. Bam Rodriguez is such a good fighter.
That kid's a bad man. Yeah. But he's all gas, no brakes. He wants the biggest fights possible. Let's not gloss over that Quadras win. Because not only is Quadras a fantastic champion and someone who gives everybody hell, he took that on like 2 weeks' notice. Jumped up 2 weight classes. Goes out there. Dominated the fight, was competitive early, but really ran away with it. And then the Rungvisai fight, talk about a standout statement fight. And now we're coming in, we still got a couple more months in the year. He could potentially fight again after this. which, like you said, he's is in the running for fighter of the year.
I don't know who else would be the fighter of the year. I mean, Bivol,
Who's been more active?
No one fights 2-3 times. I mean, it's 2 times a year. No one fights 3 times a year. I mean, Canelo,
He might get 4.
Canelo won fighter of the year last year because obviously he cleared at 168 because he fought 4 times.
Right.
You know, Jesse Rodriguez 3 times, beating Rungvisai, beating Quadras. You know, that should be enough. I think if Bivol beats Gilberto Ramirez,
Big win. That would be a huge
November
fight.
5th.
That would be a huge
That's a win over Canelo, and that's a win over Zurdo. He'd be in the mix too.
Yeah, I mean, based on it's tough because we often overlook the lighter weights, but Bivol beating Canelo and then beating an undefeated champion who's been around for a couple of years, it would be a running there.
Bam Rodriguez on the card. I love this spot for him too, and this is a big spot. You can tell that Matchroom has big plans for him. Obviously, everything I feel like is moving towards a fight with the winner of Chocolatito and Estrada 3, which is set for December 3rd, tentatively, because I know a lot of people don't trust Estrada to go through with it. But I feel like they're on a crash course. I've asked Bam this. I've had him on the show, and I wanted to see if he would say anything negative about Chocolatito, who has got to be one of the most beloved fighters out there. And he said, we have the same promoter, Mr. Honda. I've known him for a while. I have nothing bad to say about Roman Gonzalez, but I want to beat him, and I want to retire him. And that's the big reason why Bam is so popular right now, and a big reason why he's made a name for himself is because he's in a division with legends.
Yeah.
And aging legends, which also helps. But he is in a division with some of these big names. So if he can go from here, so let's say that obviously he's not going to fight Chocolatito for his 4th fight this year, if there is a 4th fight. But if Chocolatito gets past Estrada and Bam wins on Saturday night, which he should, that right there, I mean, they're both matchroom fighters. Why that fight's got to be made.
I bet if you ask Bam, he's going to want to fight both at some point. He wants everybody.
Estrada too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Estrada or Chocolatito, whoever wins that fight doesn't matter. But yeah, no, I mean, like you said, they're on a collision course. For that fight not to happen, the winner of the Estrada Chocolatito fight to fight Bam, I mean, I don't know what world that those fights don't happen. So, but again, I bet you Bam wants everybody. He's got that mentality. He's got that mindset. He wants to beat the legends that he grew up watching.
And the thing I like about Bam, it's like Superfly has this notion where it's all just punch, big time, like volume. Mm-hmm. Like Estrada and Chocolatito broke so many CompuBox records. Right. And same thing for Rungvisai. Rungvisai throws a ton of punches as well. But that's like the one thing. Oh, these guys at Superfly, they just throw a ton of punches. The thing with Bam is he does not throw a lot of punches. He is a low volume, high accuracy guy, angles, and he beats guys in a different way, which is pretty refreshing. It's a different style for 115.
Yeah, I mean, he fights more like the lightweight to middleweights fight where they're setting up their power shots and they get guys out of there. Bam knocks people out. Like you said, a lot of the flyweights, a lot of the American fans aren't familiar with the smaller weights because they don't score knockouts the way that the lighter weight, the middleweights, the heavyweights do. But Bam does. Bam fights in a style where seems like he's much bigger than he is. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're right. That's a great point. The way that he stylistically fights, that he sets up his power punches and gets guys out of there, makes him a crossover star.
Yeah, he lands 44% of his punches, throws 55 punches thrown around, which it's pretty low for that weight class. You're talking about a division where Chocolatito, routinely throws over 100 punches around. Estrada as well. He landed 9 jabs per round. That's double the weight class average for 115. 53% of his power shots. I mean, you go about 50%. And that's like one thing that Roy would always say on HBO. And then a lot of guys have now ran with it. Once you go above 50% power punch connect rate, it's hard to lose.
Is that where I got that from? Because I
use it too.
I use that as well. Whenever we see around 50% of your power punches landed, you're looking towards a knockout. Rarely do you see a fight go 10 rounds or 12 rounds when a guy's landing 50% of their power shots.
Yeah, I think Roy was the first to say that on HBO Boxing, and then it's kind of like passed down.
It's gold standard now.
It's passed down. It's Roy. He's the best. What do you see like for the ceiling for Bam? We talked about this while we were watching the weigh-in here. It's like, obviously, he could stick around at 115 and really clear out the whole division. He can go back down to 112. And who's the guy at 112 who has the belt? He's always on Twitter. Why he's he can go down to 112. I'm gonna search in a second. But what's the ceiling for Bam? How high can he go?
A lot of potential for Bam. The ceiling.
Oh, Sonny Edwards is I'm thinking of.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. The ceiling for Bam is the ceiling for everyone.
Inoue versus Bam Rodriguez. Like a shiver just went up my spine.
Listen, there's a lot of growing for Bam to do, not only in terms of weight classes, but also maturity. But, yeah, I don't see anyone smaller than Inoue beating Inoue, if that makes sense. You know, he moves up. He might, he could lose at 26. He could lose at 30 if he ends up going that far. You know, 20.
Inoue, you're talking.
Inoue, you know, he goes up. He goes from 18. He goes to 22. He goes to 26, which he's going to. All those guys have to
do that
eventually.
for bigger money.
Correct. I do not see anyone smaller or lighter than Inoue beating Inoue.
Oh my God, Inoue versus Bam Rodriguez.
Give that 2 years at least.
He's 115. I don't know if is Bam really. You think he's more of a 115 naturally or 112?
Well, he jumped up to fight Cuadras. I mean, he can go back to 112. Inoue, he looked when he fought Nonito in the rematch. He looked big for the weight class. He looked like he's on his way up. So I think weight wise they're far apart, but yeah, I mean he's the ceiling I think for everybody. Inoue's a bad dude.
He's so good, and I know hardcore boxing fans know how good he is, and he's on everyone's pound for pound list top 5. But I also on the same end of it, I feel like he's underrated in a way because he doesn't fight in the U.S., doesn't really speak English, never see interviews with him. But he, like, Top Rank signed him, and I thought, oh, great, we're going to see him 3 times a year on ESPN. It's not the case. He's still getting big fights against Donaire, and now I think he's signed up to unify against a guy that he's going to blow out in, like, 3 rounds. But he'll be undisputed. The fight that we want to see with Inoue, if it's not going to be Bam Rodriguez, is Stephen Fulton.
Yeah.
And he'll be going up to 122.
Right.
So then we're getting further away from an Inoue-Bam fight.
Right. Well, I mean, you asked what's Bam's ceiling, because I think he can wipe out the division. He can beat the 4 Kings. I think he can beat all those guys. I think he can move up, but I don't think he should look anywhere near Inoue yet. But yeah, I think Fulton Inoue is a very interesting fight because it's moving up in weight. Fulton's a bigger guy, but 2, it's the style.
Yeah.
Fulton has that style. He's not a puncher like Inoue by any means, but he is a crafty, savvy guy, and those are the kind of guys that can beat punchers like Inoue. I say like Inoue, like we've seen a guy like Inoue and we haven't.
Dude.
So who knows?
Inoue is so good. That fight against Donaire.
Oof, scary.
You were on the call.
Yep.
It was a little extra scary because it was like 7 a.m. But it was like way too
I've
much.
been up since 2, but yeah.
Yeah, you called it with Bruce Beck
Yep, my guy,
for
Bruce
ESPN
Beck.
Plus. I think that added to like the drama of it, and I was like, I shouldn't watch this much violence before 8 a.m. Like his punches were so loud. They sound different. They sound like a freaking gunshot. Poor Nonito Donaire, who obviously got a nice payday because when you fight in Japan, like Inoue's huge over there. When he fights there, they sell out. That was tough. He hit so damn hard. I want to see him in big fights, Inoue. I know we're going off a little bit of a tangent, but we're talking about these younger weights. I want to see Inoue in bigger fights.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so Inoue's doing what Donaire did before him, in that he transcended the weight class, because people don't, especially in America, don't care as much about the lighter weights. But Donaire used to knock people out.
The boxing fans care more because of Chocolatito, because of Rung Vasai, because I know this is like a tough name for boxing fans. Peter Nelson, the guy who disbanded HBO Boxing.
He put them on the stage. Yep.
Yes, he did a terrible thing disbanding HBO, and it probably came from someone above his head. But you can't deny the fact that he was willing to put these smaller guys on HBO below a Golovkin and really let them shine. And now they're a staple of boxing shows.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, also the female fighters, he put them on HBO as well.
Yep.
So he and maybe his insight into the future was right, but it wasn't the right time, obviously. But
Man, do you know his thing with Portnoy?
I do. I'm not very familiar with it, but I
Portnoy
know.
roasted him.
Yeah, well, Portnoy is a master roaster.
You don't want to get on the bad side of Dave Portnoy, but
for sure.
I think what it was Nelson was dating a girl that had one of the top podcasts on the Barstool Network.
Something Daddy.
Call Her Daddy.
Yeah.
And they wanted to leave Barstool. and Suitman came in and was advising them on how they can get out of their deal with Barstool. We're talking about a podcast that generates like millions of dollars.
Millions, yeah.
And Portnoy, you heard the story, Ronnie?
No.
And Portnoy got a hold. Portnoy got a wind of this, that this guy, Peter Nelson, who was former head of HBO Boxing, was trying to like finagle something to get them to leave Barstool, and obviously that would come out of Portnoy's pocket. Man, he went on a tirade. Yes. They were making cartoons with his head on it.
Yep.
Suitman T-shirts. Boxing fans were loving it because boxing fans think of him as the guy that disbanded HBO. But once again, like that didn't come from just Peter Nelson.
I see. I know Peter Nelson multiple times through all the HBO fights and over the years. I never looked at him as the guy that disbanded HBO, but
he was the head of HBO Sports when they did it
for a very short period of time.
Was he the head when you fought Pacquiao?
No, it was after that. But it was
who was it when you fought? Do you remember? It wasn't Ross Greenberg anymore.
No, who was it?
Hirschman? Ken Hirschman?
I think it was Hirschman. Yeah, I believe it was Hirschman. Yeah.
That's a man. Yeah, that's a whole other tangent. I forgot where we even started with that.
We started with the lighter weights.
And we ended with
flies.
Suitman.
Yeah. Superfly to Suitman.
And now I'm going to talk about DraftKings, Ronnie. We're going to talk a little DraftKings right now. The football season has kicked off. My Giants are 1-0. And they're going to move to 2-0 this week. Teams are celebrating their first wins of the season, while others are revisiting their game plan, whether your team won or lost in Week 1. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving you a shot at an easy W. New customers, all you have to do is bet $5 on any NFL wager, and you instantly receive $200 in free bets. That sounds pretty good to me. All new customers, $200 in free bets when they place any $5 wager on the football team of their choosing. We have same-game parlays. I'm going to give you my same-game parlay in a second. I'm going to win it, okay? I'm going to win my same-game parlay. I'm willing this into existence. For those in a state where sports betting is not yet available, don't forget about Daily Fantasy. They have been innovating even more ways to win some cash this football season. All you got to do, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code BOXING, receive $200 in free bets instantly when placing a $5 wager. That's promo code BOXING only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Tomorrow night, we'll be watching the fights from the DraftKings Sportsbook Lounge here at John Boy Media offices. And I pulled up some of these odds, Chris, and this is a very interesting fight to bet on. We know a lot about Canelo. We know a lot about Triple G. We know a lot about them fighting each other as they've spent 24 rounds together in their now trilogy. I got to go. I mean, I went over a lot of these numbers. Golovkin is a plus 370 underdog right now. It's a pretty sizable dog.
It's been growing, too.
It's been growing. And Golovkin, I don't know what it is now after the weigh-in that usually, that's the lines move a little bit.
Effect, yeah.
The under in this fight is 10.5 rounds, and you can get that at plus 150. Golovkin by knockout. Canelo's never been knocked out. Never been knocked down. Plus 850. You got Canelo by knockout. Triple G's never been knocked down. Never been knocked out. Plus 140.
Wow.
Canelo by decision, which this is actually pretty good value. Canelo by decision. So if you think that Golovkin will be standing at the end of this fight, and Canelo doesn't have the power, it doesn't throw a lot of punches, plus 105. That's interesting. Plus money.
Okay.
And then you got both. So the stature of this fight, it's a big fight. So DraftKings rolls out a specials. They have a whole special section. Both men to get knocked down in round 1. Plus 50,000.
Yeah.
Put $1 on that, you can walk away $50,000. Both guys who've never been knocked down in their career go down in the first round.
That's one way to make the first round very interesting.
I'm doing it. Tomorrow when we stream it, I'm doing it. I'm putting $1 on it.
If you put $1, I'll put 2.
Okay, and then we'll split it, okay?
Okay.
And we also have Canelo. Let's just say Golovkin says, screw it, I hate this guy. I'm going to hit him in the nuts 400 times. I'm going to drop kick him.
DQ.
DQ's plus 10,000. Canelo, Triple G says, this is my last big fight. I really don't like you, Canelo.
So Canelo by DQ.
I already made my $100 million. I'm going to put you in a sleeper hold.
I think that should be more than 10,000.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the chances of that are less than the first round knockdowns.
Yeah, the special section is insane. Golovkin to be knocked down in rounds 1 through 3 or 10 through 12, plus 250. Golovkin to be knocked down in rounds 1 through 6, and Alvarez to be knocked down in 7 through 12, plus 1,600. And they get bigger and bigger. Some of these, there's some really wild ones on here. Golovkin to be knocked down in round 1, and Alvarez to be knocked down in round 2, plus 15,000. I feel like that one should be even bigger.
Yeah, that should be bigger.
Both fighters that get knocked down 3 times.
That should
So
be
we're
huge.
entering like Fury Wilder
Right.
territory. 50,000 plus 50,000.
Okay.
So there's a lot to bet tomorrow night. But here's my official picks. Told you I'm going to win this one. This isn't exactly what I think is going to happen. But this is where I think the most value is. Canelo Alvarez to win in rounds 7 through 12. He wears him down. Canelo's a slow starter. You know this. Throws like 35 punches around. Likes to download the data. Do you like that term? Do you use that when you call fights?
No, I don't. I would say upload.
He upload
the data.
Uploads the data. He, Golovkin at 168, a little more, got a little more extra on there.
Yeah.
A little bit durable. Not that he's not durable, but Canelo stops him late. Maybe 10th round. Jonathan Banks waves the towel. Canelo finally gets a decisive win over Golovkin. Get that at plus 220. I'm going to parlay that with our boy Bam, who we love, to win in rounds 7 through 12 as well. Plus 110. If my math is correct, that is a plus 330 value. And this isn't outlandish.
Not at all.
Do you approve?
You're paying for the pay-per-view. You're probably going to get dinner that night.
No, you're watching us on the stream.
Well, that's even better. But, I mean, yeah, you're making money that night with that.
Yeah, you can make your money back right with me. Thank me. I have enough people saying you suck at making these picks. I want some people to start thanking me for these picks.
I mean, time will tell.
We'll see tomorrow night. That's the thing. It's like
I've got a side bet. If any of his bets work, if anyone wants to take the side money.
well, you can fade me too. That's the thing. Like bet against whatever I tell you.
Yeah. We're gonna
people do that all the time, right?
Yes.
That's the thing. Fading. But I'll tell you what.
I'm not really keen on the betting, so it's called fading.
Fading. Like if you someone's like, oh, Canobbio's 0 for 9.
Mm-hmm.
Let's bet the opposite of what he thinks is gonna happen.
Right.
Because that's usually what happens. But parlays are hard. They want me DraftKings wants me doing these parlays. It's like a lot of times the first leg hits or the other leg hits, but the other one doesn't.
Yeah, but fighting is really hard to bet on because
It
anything
is.
can happen.
I like to bet over under. Like rounds is like the easy. I feel like it's one of the easier ones to bet on. Like when you think someone's gonna be stopped late, and the over under on this one is
Well, you said the under 10.5 rounds stoppage for Canelo.
It's plus 150.
That's a good bet, I would think.
Yeah, that's the
If
value.
that could vary, yeah, it's definitely a risk. Every bet's a risk, but that one seems pretty fair.
Canelo said in an interview that he is going for the knockout from round 1 on. Is that a good thing? We've seen this before.
Yeah.
Teofimo Lopez, George Kambosos,
does he mean
recent
it?
memory.
Does he mean it?
Well, it would go against everything he is about stylistically if he comes out and he throws 50, 60 punches in round 1, leaves himself open for a counter from 168 Golovkin.
So I've done a lot of analysis of the first 2 fights this week, and in the second fight, I actually thought that Canelo was on his way to stopping Triple G in the middle rounds. He did a lot of body work. Triple G looked visibly uncomfortable with a lot of the shots that were hitting him, and then he gassed out. And then Triple G came on really strong in the last 3 rounds of that fight.
Talking about the first fight?
The second fight.
Second fight.
Especially 10, 11, 12. Triple G was really in the hole in the second fight and then really had to come back. And he came on really strong 10, 11, 12. And I think part of that is because of how hard of the push that Canelo was putting on in those middle rounds. So coming out for the knockout early, I don't know.
You guys ever do that? Like the only time
No, but guys say that.
Every time I've ever seen it though, and I've seen it more times than I can remember, but the one that's most visibly in my memory is Teofimo Kambosos.
Oh, it was really bad.
He came out in the first round
Swinging for the
It was like loading up
First
from
four.
the first row.
Yeah.
And credit to Kambosos for like, all right, this guy's going to shoot his load and I'm going to wait and I'm going to knock him down in the first round.
Yeah.
So I would love to see this. If Canelo came out, that'd be so unlike him. It'd
I
be
don't
so
even know
out
what
of
Canelo
character.
guns blazing would even look like.
I've never seen it.
He's so tight.
We've seen it against Yildirim. But
Yeah,
even that was
but
a little more
there was nothing coming
calculated.
back.
What does guns blazing Canelo look like?
I don't know. I've never seen it. I mean, I'm thinking of when when he at 54, what was his name? El Perro.
Angulo?
Angulo.
He was a punch. I mean, Angulo
He's a punching
took
bag.
so much.
I mean, Yildirim wasn't much more than that. But like, yeah, that's where I've seen the biggest, widest shots, or even James Kirkland. You know, throwing right hands from yesterday.
Do you ever see the video of the Kirkland knockout, but they take Canelo out of it?
Make him invisible. It's wild.
Can you pull that up, Ronnie?
What do you need?
Pull up James Kirkland versus Canelo knockout, invisible.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have someone in the chat, Christian Gardner. Is that a friend of yours?
I've never met that man in my life.
He said, "Who is the handsome man in the corner?"
I'm kidding. He's a good friend of mine.
That's Ronnie Cam. Ronnie's he's going to be a big star of the show. He's going to be with
bottom
us.
corner there.
No, I'm just the shadow of your greatness, Dan.
Oh, come on.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, but James Kirkland, remember that knockout? That was nasty shit.
Nasty. I mean, he loaded that right hand up from basically from his back pocket. Whack! Right around spun his head around, and that was it.
Can you even get it on the screen? That was just a fool's errand I just sent you on.
Yes.
Let's move on.
I mean, I can watch it myself because I haven't seen it.
I want you to see it, and then I want you to react. That's like a whole thing that's a whole thing on the internet too. It's like
James
reacting.
Kirkland,
Kirkland, invisible knockout.
All right, I'm gonna.
They took Canelo out of the shot, and it's just him eating shots and then getting like helicoptered out of the ring.
But also, you can see the reverberation through his body as he's getting hit. It shows you how much power fighters possess and what they do to each other and what our bodies are going through.
Yeah, let's go. And I'm sitting there making jokes. So you've actually been in the ring taking punishment. I mean, it's no joke.
Hit some of these guys.
Who's the hardest puncher you ever faced?
Oh, Provodnikov by far.
Like a mule, right?
Oh
like he's just made out of iron.
Ronnie just watched it.
Oh my goodness!
Look how his body reacts.
It just shut down.
Looks like gunshots.
Well, that's he went out. He was like, "Listen, I'm going out guns blazing."
Yeah,
Kirkland.
Mm-hmm.
He had Ann Wolf in the corner.
Oof. Yeah,
which
is what her style
emasculating him, saying, "Go out there and be a man."
Canelo looks so young.
Dude, he's been around.
That was
2000. What 2015?
15. May 10th, 2015. The HBO box.
I thought it was earlier than that.
That is 7 years ago. That's
Yeah,
how
so
long
he was
Canelo's been in this game.
25, 26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
What is he? 32 now or
32 now?
Yeah. So yeah, he's 25 years old.
I would like to start the trend of calling him the LeBron James of boxing.
It's totally did not hear that on the way in. But
No.
he, in a way, he is like there was a stat that came out about LeBron. Just not that I think he's one of the greatest to ever fight. He's probably one of the up there greatest Mexican of all time, up there with Chavez.
Well, Chavez said that when I called the fights in Guadalajara, Mexico, when Chavez Sr. fought his last fight, he brought Canelo into the ring to say he was the best, and Canelo was like, no.
Wait, I always said that even if he's in a discussion,
yeah,
because we're never gonna. This is like the MJ versus LeBron debate. How do you even figure out a winner? It's just what you think, what your opinion is. So the fact that he's even listed in the same
that's a really
breath
great point.
is amazing, and it's something that 5 years ago, 7 years ago, we never would have thought for Canelo.
It's really going to come out in 10 years when we look back and we're like, all right, we've gotten away from the era, the Canelo era, and then we can compare it versus the Chavez era. But I don't know. And Canelo said it best. He's like, you're the best. I'm never going to be better. Like I'm it now, but there's no you. Like you are the only one. You're the first one, whatever. So I understand where that's coming from, but I think when we pull away from it, we'll really be able to look at it.
Yeah, the fact that we're even having that discussion just shows everything. But I don't. Obviously, he's not the greatest of all time, or like LeBron is, maybe top 5. But 52% of Canelo's life has been spent as a professional boxer. Same thing for LeBron James. He's what, 38? LeBron?
He's gonna turn 39 in December.
And he turned pro when he was 18.
18.
I can't do the math on the fly. This isn't a math podcast.
This is gonna be his 20th season in the NBA.
So more half of his life too.
Over 20 years as a pro.
Yes.
Right. He turns out big crowds. We just saw that weigh in. He's single-handedly keeping the sport afloat. I can't wait for this. I can't wait to see this fight tomorrow night. Want to do path to victory?
Yeah.
We'll start with Golovkin. No one's really giving him a chance. Vegas isn't giving him a chance. I'm not giving him a chance, which actually might bode well for him. I picked against him, so he's probably going to win. So
his chances just went up. By you saying he's going to lose, his chances went up.
So what is Gennady Golovkin's path to victory, to finally getting that official win over Canelo?
Okay, well, number one, he has to start fast. And Not so much that he has to start fast because he never starts fast, but he can't start slow. When he fought Murata, he started slow, and it was evident. And Murata was able to get off with right hands, especially body shots. So I think Triple G has to start fast. He cannot get himself into a hole and then have to dig himself out like he did in the second fight. In the first fight, he started very fast. He won a lot of those first rounds. In the first fight, out of the first 8 rounds, I only gave 2 to Canelo. And then Canelo rocked back.
The first fight.
You
gave Canelo 2 rounds. So it was
2 out of the first 8.
6-2.
I did 6-2.
Through 9.
Through 9.
Wow.
And then Canelo roared back at the end. And I had Gennady Golovkin winning the first fight, which I think a lot of people do, even though it was considered a draw. So that's number 1. He has to start fast or AKA not slow. Number 2, the jab. The jab. That's his best weapon. It's the most accurate jab in boxing. He's very, very busy with it. It's the punch that gave Canelo the most trouble when he fought Bivol. Those shots banging on his head.
Why was Canelo not able to handle Bivol's jab, and why was he able to handle Golovkin's?
The difference with Bivol is the footwork, his in and out, his ability to change range.
Golovkin doesn't have the footwork.
Triple G is essentially a plotter. He's a very accurate, sharp plotter with actually, he's got pretty good defense. I know he gets hit with a lot of punches. He doesn't get hit clean a lot until recently. So he's a kind of guy. He comes forward. He's a plotter. He does not have that in and out defense, in and out foot movement like Bivol does. So completely different guys in terms of comparing those two. But the jab was the main weapon for Bivol for his victory. And I think if Triple G is going to win this fight, he's going to have to really utilize that jab, which he did in the first 2 fights, but he has to be consistent. He also needs to fight with some kind of consistency. In the first 2 fights, he was on and off. And which we see in a lot of times when we see great matchups, we see ebbs and flows where one guy takes over and then the other guy kind of waits and then they go back and forth. If Triple G is going to win this fight, he's going to have to be consistent.
It's a lot to ask.
At 40 years old, yes, it is.
He
Especially against Canelo, yes, it is.
His jab, I would not be shocked if he lands like a 10 jabs around or
he will.
30% of his jabs. That's fine.
He will.
I don't doubt that. Starting fast, I think that might be beneficial.
Yeah.
40 years old, go in there and try to take him out or make for a really fun fight. The consistency part, you could probably attest to this better than anyone in this room. You actually step into the ring. Consistency part is going to be tough. Like stick to the body, completely abandon the body in the first 2 fights. Then 14 body shots in the 24 rounds. Being consistent is going to be really, really tough, especially against Canelo, who arguably has gotten better since the second fight.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Canelo has definitely gotten better. He's changed. He's added folds to his game. I don't know if he's going to be able to utilize those folds against Triple G, though. I feel like these guys are just going to go back to what they do when they fight each other. They meet each other and they look the same every time. Like, it's like all 24 rounds, you could mix them all up. They don't look like they've progressed in terms of the way they fight each other. It's just who wins what round.
Has that ever happened with you where you had a game plan going into a fight and then maybe you get hit with a shot or maybe something kicks in and you just game plan goes out the window?
Oh, countless times, especially early on in my career where the game plan was to box and then you get cracked and it's like, you know what? Or I go into a fight and be like, you know what? I'm just not feeling it today. I don't want to box. I want to fight. I just want to fight.
Wow.
And that happens and you gotta have to make that game time decision. As you get up, you really have to just pull the reins on that and grab your nuts and put them back in your trunks and be like, okay, do what you're supposed to do.
How hard is that though? When you got people, we're watching, we're sitting there in the crowd, drinking, yelling. It's like an insane atmosphere.
That's the difference between a world champion and a prize fighter.
Right.
You
have to rein in your emotions and say, you know what, and make that decision in your head. Like, I'm not fighting my fight. I got to get back to boxing. That must be really hard to do.
Oh, absolutely. But both these guys are such high level guys. They've been to the top. They've been to the mountaintop, both of them. So I don't think that's going to be as much of a factor for these two than we would see with maybe other fighters.
All right, so that's Golovkin's path to victory. You're saying he needs to
start fast, utilize the jab, be consistent.
Love that. Let's go to Canelo. Obviously a huge favorite in this fight. Everyone's picking him. Most people are saying he's going to stop him with a body shot. We've seen from Canelo at 168 is dominance. What we've seen from Canelo against fighters taller than him, dominance. 175, it's sticking in a lot of fight fans' mind, a little bit of slippage. Where do you see Canelo, and what's Canelo's path to victory?
Number one, go forward. I think he learned in the 12th round of the first fight that he was in less danger moving forward on Triple G than moving backward. He spent a lot of the time in the first fight on the ropes in the first fight, and I swear I think he lost a lot of those rounds. In the 12th round, he stood his ground, he came forward, threw a really hard combination as soon as the round started, and then pushed Triple G back the rest of that round. And even though the punches are big, Triple G, I think, is actually the harder puncher of the two. He was able to take them much better, and he took that into the second fight.
Mm-hmm.
He started pushing forward immediately. He won over the Mexican fans because of that. He just ran out of gas towards the end of the fight, in my eyes. So, number one, he has to push forward. He has to be consistent. He has to go at Triple G and fight him head on. Number two, he's got to utilize his own jab. I think if he...
What is Canelo's jab? I feel like he never talks about his jab.
He never talks about his jab, but it's a very good jab.
No one talks about his jab.
It's a very good punch. It's a very good jab. He sets punches up really well with that. It's just that he's gotten away from it recently. He's been fighting a lot of bigger, taller guys where he has to wade in. Think Caleb Plant. Think Kovalev. Two guys that he wasn't trying to out-jab.
Right.
You know, he was just moving in, kind of wading through the jabs here and there. A lot of his jabs are eye-catching, but they're not consistent. He doesn't throw a lot of jabs. I think in this fight, he has to utilize that jab while coming in and staying low. So if he comes in, sets the tone, is going in a jabbing contest with Triple G where he's able to push him back and while being aggressive, I think that's going to be important.
Number three,
the body.
Hammer the body.
What have we seen the biggest weakness in Triple G since the Canelo fight? The body.
Body shots.
He's been hurt by Derevyanchenko badly. He's been hurt by Murata, who's not a body puncher at all. At all.
Visibly hurt.
Wincing, tucking his elbow in, avoiding, pushing his trunks down. When you see a guy push his trunks down with both hands,
Yeah, what does that mean?
he's hurt to the body.
Yes.
So anytime you see a guy do that, whether he's in the round or in the corner, he's hurt to the body. And Triple G has done that. He did that with the Murata fight. He did that in the Derevyanchenko fight. So if Canelo can stay consistent with the jab and the body work, I think he has the opportunity to get Triple G out of there.
There's a great path to victory right there. I'm trying to pull up Golovkin's body numbers. I mean, he's a great body puncher. These numbers are just going to illustrate them even further.
The Matthew Macklin fight is burned in my mind.
Yeah.
Breaking his rib, hitting him with a left hook to the liver.
You're talking about Golovkin.
Golovkin, yeah.
I'm talking about Canelo being a great body puncher.
Oh, well, I mean, forget it.
But why did Golovkin abandon the jab in those two fights, the first two fights?
Golovkin abandoned the jab in which fights?
In the first two Canelo fights.
I wouldn't say he did. They're just so this comparing these two guys is really tough because they're such polar opposites in terms of visually. Canelo is such an eye-catching puncher and combination thrower.
Yeah.
And then Golovkin's so subtle. Like those jabs that he throws on the inside, they're super short, they're super tight. He just gets his head offline. A lot of those jabs were thrown. They're not as eye-catching as a lot of the jabs that maybe Canelo was throwing. But I do think the jab was an important weapon. I think he needs to make that the kind of weapon that he utilized throughout his entire career. But it's hard to do against Canelo.
That would be interesting if out of nowhere he starts throwing to the body in this fight after not landed much in the first two fights.
So you can check because again, I did a lot of analysis for this fight. I think it was round number 4 of was it the first fight? Maybe, but Triple G actually hurt Canelo to the body with a left hook, and Reynoso yelled at Canelo and said, "Hey, at the end of that round, you backed up too much." Meanwhile, it was because he got hit with a liver shot that I don't think anybody saw. Yeah,
I have the numbers here now for Canelo. 31% of Canelo's landed punches are body shots.
31%.
Yes.
That's career?
Career, yeah. Last 20 fights.
Wow.
Well, just 13% of Triple G's are body shots.
Even 13 is a pretty good amount.
The
30 is crazy.
Average is right around, right 25%. I want to see, I'll be interested to see that. But that's the thing with Canelo. That's what everyone is saying. It's like the common thought on this fight is that Canelo is going to stop Golovkin to the body.
Or at least
how
weaken.
Shocked would you be to see? We've obviously seen Golovkin slow down. We've seen Visible only fought 4 times in the last 4 years. We probably wouldn't be as shocked to see him lose as we would have like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I think if Canelo was able to knock him out, TKO, stop him.
Yeah.
Would that be like an oh shit moment, or it's like, all right, this is what we thought? I think it's an oh shit moment.
It's an oh shit moment because like you said, it's Triple G, and it's Canelo, and it's the final statement in the trilogy, right?
I'm getting pumped.
I've been pumped, but I wouldn't be that surprised.
it would still be like, oh shit, yeah, we've never seen this.
It would be oh shit, but I wouldn't be surprised. Put it that way.
What if Canelo goes the distance and he wins 8-4?
That's my prediction, actually.
You're supposed to wait to the end. Come on, man. No, I'm kidding. Who cares? We're not going towards conventional. Well, James Burrell, normal, intelligent people discussing boxing instead of fake gangsters talking over each other. Is this allowed on YouTube?
Should we change up?
Get used to it. Yeah, you're a phony. Jake Paul would knock out Canelo. I said it. What are you gonna do?
Well, and now that you said it, it's definitely.
You got a hot take? Boxing hot take?
Yeah, Bam Rodriguez is defeating Inoue.
Wow. We have that. You're on camera now.
For the record, he has no idea who either of those guys are.
No. I'm in this
You
business.
know Bam. You don't know
Inoue.
Bam.
I do know Inoue. You
Okay.
showed me. Well, I don't know him personally.
You
but
saw the
You showed
knockout.
me the highlights. The guy's nuts.
I came into work this isn't work. I came into work after doing the CompuBox for that
No,
fight.
this is work. I'm telling people this is my job.
No, this is work. I mean, the lights are on. Someone's paying for all this. I came into the office after working that 7 a.m. fight for CompuBox, and I was like, dude, you got to see this knockout.
Yeah.
And I was like, just
Scary.
listen to these punches and watch this guy with an electric guitar in the ring beforehand.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm not even
I
going to
remember
ask you because I know you saw it, but he threw one right hand in the first round. One. He waited to the punch that dropped him. He was setting up the whole time. He was throwing left hook. And I said it on air. I was like, got to be careful hooking with a hooker because Donaire is a brilliant left hook and starches everybody with that. And Inoue came out throwing hook, and then found the right hand. Bing. Puts Donaire down first round.
This is an Inoue podcast now.
Apparently.
He hasn't found the United
31% of this podcast has been Inoue.
It's been Inoue. I'm fine with that. I love the guy. He's fought in the U.S., once, but not enough. Like, he's huge in Japan. He's like a massive star there. So he's like the Canelo of Japan.
He's another one, though. His interviews are very lackluster.
As a casual boxing fan, I want to see more of him.
Yes.
Well, I think everyone who would see him would say that. It's just not enough people see him.
And he signed with Top Rank, which is the guys that are aligned with ESPN.
Yeah.
It's like one of the biggest platforms you could have.
Right.
I just think, I don't know what the thought process is. Maybe I should DM Carl Moretti and ask him, what the F, man?
He's gonna give you some expletives back.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure he wants to see him too fight more. It's just, I don't know what I was saying.
When's the last time
before
you seen Carl excited?
Very rarely. Yeah, he plays golf.
Yeah.
That's it.
When Notre Dame plays. That's
Notre
pretty much it.
Dame, golf, or talking about Sopranos.
You were saying
There you
something
go.
about Jake Paul knocking out Canelo? Something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that?
Jake Paul was going to knock out Canelo, and then he's going to fight Mayweather, and then he's going to save
Again?
the savior.
Oh no, Jake. No, we're talking about Jake. I see. I confuse him.
He's the savior of boxing, Jake Paul.
Jake Paul is.
Yeah. You said,
Which one's which again?
Jake is the
I'm
shorter
sorry.
one.
I'm too old for this.
Shorter one.
Okay.
There's another boxing podcast or another guys out there. You know these guys, our buddies Mannix and Sergio Mora.
Yep.
Like Sergio is like, I wouldn't say he's angling for a fight with Jake Paul, but like he still trains.
Oh.
Like he'll go out of his way to trash Jake Paul any chance he gets. Mannix thinks it's because he's trying to get a fight with Jake Paul.
Interesting.
How about you? Can we get you in the ring with Jake Paul?
No, he's fucking 200 pounds.
So load up. Start eating more steaks.
Dude,
Let's go to Frankie and Johnny's. Let's get you to one. He's coming down, Jake Paul. He's coming down to 175 now.
Meet him in the middle.
Okay, if he can come down to 155, then I'll
I
meet
mean,
him.
got to fight. You heard it here first. Chris Algieri.
I'll fight him at 55.
Jake Paul, 155. And we're going to do it right here in New York City.
Because that's one thing. Like
Do it at the warehouse.
Whoa.
Jersey City.
I actually like these guys. I just can't remember their names right now. So Jake, and then who's the older one?
No, I know
Paul.
we're clowning about. They actually are. Take the sport serious. Jake Paul is the shorter, stockier one. Who
Right.
fought.
No,
Tom Logan.
I know Jake. Okay, so
Logan is
okay.
actually like in the WWE now and doing.
He's awesome.
He can wrestle. He can talk. I mean, he's got like this. Obviously, he can talk. He's got this drink now. He's just
I heard
the kid
about
just
that, yeah.
printing money.
He can do everything but box. But
He
so
can't box.
that's
Jake Paul's a way better boxer than his brother Logan.
way better. So that's my point. Is that Mayweather fought Logan, and Logan outweighed him at 50 pounds.
That was.
I
Horrible.
guarantee you, Mayweather's not fighting Jake because Jake can actually punch.
That's what I thought the fight was gonna. I thought they were building towards something.
oh
like
hell
that.
no, Jake can actually punch. That's not
Tyson,
a good idea.
Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul.
He's
You can't sanction
50
that.
years old.
Who's
No.
sanctioning? He's 57.
They're just barely getting Silva in under the
Yeah,
age limit.
47.
Just under. You know, like if he was 49, but like 47, okay, we can make this fight.
All right, so there it is. Our weekly Jake Paul segment. Moving on to, I think we were talking about like if Canelo wins an 8-4 decision,
Right. That's
which you
off.
predicted. No big moments.
No, I'm not. I'm saying, listen, the first fight had big moments. I think it's going to be a very tightly contested fight. Both guys are going to really step up like usual. And I just think that Canelo being younger, fresher, and hungry off that loss, also with the weight, I think he's going to pull away and really separate himself.
For our fans, this is a loaded question. This is hard to do. Will boxing fans be satisfied with a Canelo sound decision? No knockdowns?
Yes.
Or it'd be like, oh, he beat an old man and he wasn't able to stop him?
Well, no, because in history, it's going to go down as Canelo is 2-0-1, which is huge, which angers me because I really think it's 1-1 right now. And I feel bad for Triple G because his legacy is affected by that. Because if he loses tomorrow night, he's going down as 0-2-1.
I almost feel like he's fine with it in a way because
I doubt it.
He's getting so much money.
Cool, money's cool, but I mean,
pride thing.
legacy is forever, man.
I mean, we could potentially be seeing Golovkin's last fight tomorrow night. We could potentially seeing his last meaningful fight if he continues to fight on. I think that's something that should be taken into account. Obviously, he wants to win that one, and obviously a lot of fans feel a little bit differently about Golovkin than they did 5 years ago. Like 5 years ago, he was beloved.
Oh, 5 years ago, he was beloved. He was the Mexican style. He spoke to the crowd. Like, he was like, everyone loved him.
He was borderline in the first fight, like, the crowd favorite over Canelo.
I agree.
And this is a whole damn arena of Mexican fans.
Yep.
But this one's different. I think Marcos Viegas tweeted like he almost got booed at this one.
Yeah, I mean he's so he would say good boy who did that thing.
Yeah,
and
he
like,
doesn't do that anymore.
No. He has.
That was like a marketing thing.
Yeah, he's really pulled away from the public eye in terms of that, and the Mexican style thing. It's tough when you're fighting the Mexican guy. And is your Mexican style.
That's what we said in the first one. It's like the second fight, whether you had Canelo winning, whether you didn't have him winning, you can't deny that he
Canelo
changed up his game plan. He came forward. Mexicans obviously love come forward fighters. Even if he lost, he was going to fight going out, against what he was before that, which was more of a shifty guy.
In the first fight, he literally fought off the ropes most of the fight.
Right, and his career before that, the first fight with Golovkin, he did not fight like he does now.
No.
Wasn't a stalker.
No.
A little more of a counter puncher, a little more of a, shiftier in there.
Yeah, the way that Canelo has adapted his style over the years, I think the Mayweather fight was a big one. I think after the Mayweather fight, he really changed up. He started rolling his shoulders a lot more and countering off that. And then in recent years, he's moved up, and the guys are just too slow for him. So he's just like, I'm just going to walk forward and just
Golovkin's
explode. Slow. Golovkin is slow, but he's not that like much taller guy. He's actually active, not like a lot of the other guys that he's been fighting.
And you want an oh shit moment? The oh shit moment would be Golovkin knocking out Canelo.
So Golovkin hurt Canelo in the most that I've ever seen Canelo hurt in round number 10 of their second fight. Look that up. People at home, no one made a big deal out of it. He got hit with a right hand. Canelo was in combination, gets hit with a right hand, and you watch his left arm just go like limp. He gets hit with a right hand, boom, and he's throwing a left hook, and the left hook just goes dead in the air. And then no one really said anything. But for the next couple rounds, it seemed like Canelo was fought well, but was fighting hurt.
I'm excited. I'm so pumped for this fight.
I have a question.
Whoa, Ronnie question.
Whoa, Ronnie from the side.
What will you guys think of Canelo's career if he loses this match?
That's a phenomenal question.
It's a phenomenal question because this will be 2 losses in a row.
Yeah.
A guy that hadn't lost in 8 years. A guy that was over the top praise for him. And it was warranted.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is 2 straight losses.
Mm-hmm.
One to a guy at 175. Okay, you could say that was a guy going up too much in weight. Now listen to a 40-year-old Golovkin who's washed. I don't know, man. I don't know where it puts him, but it starts to say, man, he is really human now, and maybe this is the start of a decline.
So does
good question, Ronnie.
Great question, Ronnie. I think it'll affect his legacy for sure. But I also think the Bivol fight's going to affect his legacy very negatively as well, more so than I think it should in terms of how much weight it's going to hold. But what happens if Triple G beats him? Then what? Does Triple G go, oh, 4th fight? Or does Triple G go, no, I won the first one. Now I won the 3rd one. I'm good. And retires with the money. And then it really hurts Canelo. Because if they fight again, then Canelo wins, then,
Well, at that point, Triple G has a lot of money at that point.
Yeah.
He has already a lot of money right now. Why would he? Yeah, I could see him not giving
I
you a
could see him
fourth
going,
round.
"I
I'm
won
not
the first
letting you win back these bouts. Another thing that not a lot of people are talking about with this fight is the 168 with Golovkin for the first time.
Yep.
And the fact that if Golovkin wins this fight, he is the undisputed champion at 168.
Yeah.
People
forget that because Canelo's coming off a loss, but he's
Right.
still the undisputed at 168.
A division that he's never fought in, a division that, there's a lot of good fighters at 168. Benavidez, Caleb Plant. There's a lot of
Benavidez
guys,
is a bad dude.
bad man. A lot of guys coming up from 160 to 168. All of a sudden, Golovkin is the guy with all the belts. I could see him saying, you know what, I'm not giving you a rematch. Or I could see him saying, I'm 40 now. This is crazy because involves Golovkin winning the fight tomorrow night. I'm 40 now. I want the biggest fights possible.
Well, that's the only fight.
The biggest fight is the fourth fight with Canelo.
Right. Exactly. I don't see him
Just what are
fighting.
the options?
I don't see him fighting any of those younger guys. Why?
You're not making that much fighting Charlo. You're not making that much money.
40-year-old
fighting
fighters
Andrade.
don't fight these young upstarts who are up and coming that are going to be made on that fight.
You fight who can make you the most amount of money.
Yeah.
All right, that's an awesome stuff. Let's end the show with our top 5 trilogies.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do it a little different. Do you have yours up?
I have them in my head.
Okay, that's good. You have a pretty good memory.
Surprisingly.
For a guy that spent time getting hit in the head, you have a good memory.
you would think I would not be as sharp, but
You really are. I asked for your path to victory. You didn't even look down once. You were just right off the top.
I started writing them earlier and then I just stopped. So it's in the head.
Boom, right? That's why you're such a good broadcaster.
In the head.
All right, enough praise of Chris Algieri. Let's
Really?
go.
We can keep going.
No, we can
Let's
keep going.
go
Guys,
right
you,
here.
you guys can praise me. It's cool.
Oh, we're getting some good praise in the chat. Let's go to the chat real quick. Hagler with a 3. H3 Agler. I'm worried Triple G loses in a sad way, like Tyson McBride style. That's a good point. If there comes a point where he realizes he can't hurt Canelo and gasses, starts taking big damage, towel gets thrown. That's how I see the fight.
That's not sad. It's just
Maybe for Hagler with a 3, it's sad.
yeah, okay.
I mean, if you're a big Golovkin fan, yeah, you don't want to see him go out like that. But that's how I honestly see the fight playing out, and because that's why I took, Triple G round 7 through 12. And I think I don't think he's gonna get knocked out. I think he's gonna. If it ends in a stoppage, it's gonna be a wear down situation.
Yeah, I think hurt to the body, taking too many shots upstairs. I
And
think
then they
corner
wave it off.
retirement's probably.
I have to see who the ref is. I should probably pull that up.
We haven't talked about Banks.
Jonathan Banks.
This is the first fight where Triple G Canelo is Banks in the corner.
What's the deal with that?
So I called the Zarazmata fight, which was the first fight that they had with Banks, but
Right.
they had multiple camps prior to that because of cancellations and then getting pushed back. And he did show some good head movement in that fight. But then he fought Murata, and Murata was a much stiffer challenge than Zarazmata. We didn't see that same head movement again. So how much of Banks are we going to see come this new fight in terms of head movement? I don't think much. I think Canelo's way too fast.
I honestly, and you would know this better than me. I honestly thought the Banks thing was just. I don't want to pay you as much as I was paying Abel Sanchez.
I could.
Because what have you seen? Have you seen any difference in Golovkin?
Again, I saw it in the Zarazmata fight because he actually
Well, he was facing a guy that was.
he actually slept punches.
Yeah, but he was also fighting a guy that was not even
Correct.
on his level.
Correct. Yeah, and actually Murata is a guy that he actually could have slept punches because Murata's not a fast guy either, and he didn't. He just went back to old.
So I
Triple
mean,
G.
it's like
Yeah, I don't see
obviously he had a falling out with Abel Sanchez. That sucks, and it was over money because
Yeah.
Abel Sanchez did a ton of interviews talking about it.
Mhm.
Was not afraid to say it. What's how most of these trainer breakups happen is over money.
Yeah.
And he brought in Banks, and Banks, they talked up this whole thing like you're gonna see a lighter, you're gonna see Golovkin move. That's never been him.
No.
Not gonna change that at 40 either.
You can't change something that works. You can't change it that much. So I think at high levels when you especially get late in your career, you're making minor adjustments, little things here and there, game plan, strategy stuff. But you're not going to change the style.
Hagler with a 3 said it would be sad for me.
You said it. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
One final thing in the chat. I put up a poll of who's going to win to see what they think. Out of 21 votes, 52% Triple G.
Wow.
I think
Well,
Hagler with a 3 voted 3 times.
So I did a poll on my Instagram as well, and I think
What do you got?
I think it was. I mean, when I looked at it early, it was very.
You know what
Triple
that
G
is,
heavy.
though? People just don't like Canelo.
I don't know.
Why?
As much as he's done for this sport and much as he is. See, I look at the sport differently than a fan does. I look at it as the entirety of the sport. I work in the sport. Chris, you do as well. I root for the sport to do well. So therefore, if Canelo wins, that's good for the sport. I'm not a fan. Fans out there do not like Canelo because they feel like he gets over-the-top praise. The failed of a drug test, doesn't fight black fighters, doesn't fight Mexican fighters. You don't know the half, bro. It's crazy out there. The fact that, like...
Is that true?
What?
No.
Oh.
I mean,
these are things fans say.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean,
It's true
everyone
that people say that. Yeah,
you forget fan is short for fanatical.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, I'm not saying that they're wrong. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. That's what makes the sport beautiful, the fans. There are a lot of fans out there. You would think a guy like Canelo would get like praise like LeBron gets, or that's probably not the best comparison, but it's not. A lot of people don't like Canelo. A lot of people don't want to see this fight. A lot of people would love to see Golovkin just like ruin everything.
I mean, a lot of people don't like LeBron.
That's
I
true.
was-
I know that's
I
why I
was gonna
that's
say
why I
that
thought it
too,
was the
yeah.
best comparison.
So my Instagram poll, I've got close to a couple hundred votes, and I've got 57% for Canelo.
Oh,
See, that just shows you have an intelligent fan base.
we got a
I mean,
couple more votes in.
My fans are pretty sharp
Yeah.
Canelo has taken over the poll.
Oh my God.
52%.
We have
already.
breaking-
All right, split right through.
We got
Okay.
breaking news.
In the
Siempre
primaries.
El Reyes says facts on Canelo hate. There's a lot of Canelo hate out there. You know why? It's like boxing fans, anytime you see someone get so much praise, and from
This is news to me. This is wild to me because I love Canelo.
I so do I think he's great.
I love both these guys.
But like, if you're a fan, you might not like him. You might say, if you're a fan, well, one thing we know about boxing fans too is like some fans root for
Fickle.
promotions,
Yeah, well, that too.
and there's a lot of fans out there that root for PBC, and they say, why has Canelo not fought Charlo?
But why has Charlo not fought anybody?
That's the rebuttal.
That's an very easy rebuttal because Canelo has been. He fought PBC, he fought Kel Plant.
Yeah.
PBC.
But why not? Yeah, it went to 168. And the reason I would say is he's not Fort Charlo. At 160. I don't know what the reason is. But yeah, because he went up to 168 and he fought Plant.
Yeah.
But there's the talk is, remember when Canelo was given the franchise belt at 160? And that was a whole mess. There's conspiracies out there. There's people that say the reason he was given that franchise belt was from Mauricio Suleiman, who's obviously very tight with Canelo, so he would not have to fight Charlo. Wouldn't have to fight as mandatory. The franchise belt pretty much gave you freedom to go to 168, gave you freedom to defend against whoever you wanted. It's like a lifetime achievement award while you were still fighting. People, that's the hate that comes from Canelo. Why doesn't he fight Andre? Why doesn't he fight any one of these slick, black fighters?
And my rebuttal is going to be the same. Why don't those guys fight anybody else? They haven't really fought any high caliber guys.
Well, that's
why
whenever Canelo said that.
You're going for the tip top guy. I mean, if I'm Canelo, I'm saying, okay, beat one of those guys that are coming up. You got to earn it. You got to earn it. You got to earn that shot. I'm the cash cow. Canelo has the power to pick and choose.
Yes, that's another thing too. Is he remember when he said, "I want them to fight each other"?
Yeah.
Let Andrade fight Charlo, and the
Yeah,
winner
fight the
fights
winner.
me.
Yeah.
But they're just waiting around now.
Well,
they were
No
waiting
one
around.
wants to take the risk.
Right. No one wants to take the risk, so they were just waiting around.
But
waiting.
that forces Canelo to take risk and jump up to 75 and fight, whatever.
Right.
But, listen, there's a lot of ways to look at it. It's all about perspective. It's neither here nor there. Only thing I can say, only thing that is on paper, objectively, is that Canelo has been fighting the who's who of guys and beating them, wipes out the division, jumps up and jumping all over the weight classes. I mean, that's all. I mean, how are you going to argue that?
I think this is going to be a conversation we have for our post-fight show tomorrow night. On what's next, especially if Canelo wins, because I haven't even thought about what's next for Canelo, because it can go so many different ways. I think he's done with his deal with Matchroom. He's obviously a free agent and he can fight anyone.
There's no more British guys for him to gobble up.
That's another thing too, Ronnie. We're giving you like a lesson here in
Crash course.
a crash course in Canelo hate.
He's done with tea and crumpets.
Everyone's like, this guy's just a Euro bum beater. He beats up on these European fighters.
Well, he signed the deal with Matchroom and he just beat up all of Eddie's guys and then just was waiting for the
And
big
he's got
ones
a
here.
big smile on his face. But the thing with that is, like, he looked at the division. He went to 168. He looked at the division. He still had to take those risks. Callum Smith was still huge.
Callum Smith was a risk.
BJ Saunders, I knew he was going to win that one.
Listen,
And then he beat Plant.
BJ's was good, and he gave him a few good rounds. He just fucking face broke. But
I'm trying to pull up Canelo's box rec. If you type in Canelo Alvarez, it doesn't come up because that's really not his name.
Saul, yeah.
Saul
Goodman.
Don't call me Saul Goodman Alvarez.
Don't call me Saul.
Since Jacobs, he's fought Sergey Kovalev, Callum Smith. Callum Smith started off the Euro tour.
Those are two studs.
Anvi Yildirim,
Not a stud.
Billy Joe Saunders.
I think stud, undefeated. Guy that was beaten.
Passed it though.
Yeah.
Caleb Plant,
Stud.
Dimitri Bivol. It's a good run, but
Yeah.
for some, it's not good enough. I wanted them to fight Charlo, just because I thought it would have been a cool event, something different. PBC, Charlo's pretty popular.
So say he fought Charlo and he beats him. Now we're going, oh, he didn't fight Caleb Plant. Now he didn't fight
Right.
BJ Saunders. He didn't.
Plant had something. Plant had the lottery ticket in his hand.
Yeah,
which was
well-
that fourth belt.
Right.
And he's like, you know what? You have to come to me if you want to. Canelo's all about history. Yeah. So that's the reason why. There's your answer. That's the reason why Canelo gets so much hate. Every fighter gets hate. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. We got trilogies. Trilogies, best
Yes,
trilogies.
best 5 trilogies right now because I'm hungry and I want to go eat.
Yeah,
All right, let's go. Instead of last time, I think we all listed ours. Let's go back and forth.
Yeah.
5,
okay.
5,
Yep,
4,
yep,
4.
yep, yep.
Number 5 for me, Fury Wilder. And I already posted this on Twitter. Lou DiBella said my list is ass. Call him already. Tweeted, DM me, said your list sucks. People said Fury Wilder shouldn't be on the list. I have it on my list, and I was debating between this and Bo Holyfield because my criteria for this list is at least 2/3 of the trilogy has to be outstanding fights. Not one good fight and then 2 shitty ones. Well, not one good fight and then 2 non-memorable ones, and they just didn't give it in those last 2. So I got Fury Wilder in there because 2 of the 3 fights were very good or delivered memorable moments. First fight, obviously, Fury getting up off the canvas is one of the best moments in the history of boxing. Second fight, if you're a Fury fan, you loved it. Wasn't really a competitive fight.
No, beating.
Third fight, instant classic.
Yep.
No one wanted the third fight. This could be foreshadowing what we see tomorrow night. No one wants to see Canelo Golovkin 3. No one wanted to see Fury Wilder 3. And it ended up being the best of the 3. Knockdowns all over the place. On top of it, Chris, I think what it did for boxing. The sport badly needed an infusion in the heavyweight division, and this was the one. This was the second fight was huge. You were at that fight. I was at that fight. Super Bowl spots for it. A massive buildup. Adele sitting behind me.
Wilder's stupid walk-in suit.
The suit that's going to be live on in infamy. All the everything. This fight had everything besides that competitiveness in that second fight, but it was huge. It meant a lot for the sport and meant a lot for the heavyweight division because there really wasn't that big heavyweights. It was out of the Klitschko era. We had Fury. He came back. We had Wilder, but he never fought anyone. So that's why I have Fury Wilder number 5.
I actually have the same for my number 5. But so my criteria is different than yours. So number 1 is how good was the fight to watch? Like, was it a good fight to watch? And out of the 3, like similar to you, 2 out of 3 of those had to be really good. Number 2, what it meant historically matters to me because if we're talking about the all-time greatest, it has to have an effect. Listen, I bet you there's some journeymen who beat each other up in Providence, Rhode Island that we've never seen. Those don't care. Cool, it's a great fight. I don't want to see Rock'em Sock'em Robots. I want to see fights that matter, fights that historically have some kind of significance. And then number 3 is what it does for me nostalgically, which is similar to what number 2. But if it strikes a chord in me, then it's gonna be higher on the list than maybe something else. So for me, the Fury Wilder fight, first fight was classic. Third fight, classic. Again, second fight was a drubbing.
It was knockdown. I mean, it wasn't like a boring fight.
No, it wasn't a boring. None of them were boring. All 3 of them were actually entertaining fights, whether it was a beating and a knockout, but also the expectation, the feeling, the how many eyes were watching it, the fact that it's heavyweights. I love heavyweights, man. I really love
that's
heavyweights.
a big moment. It's because it brought back heavyweight boxing.
Yep.
This is a huge, huge fight.
And it really introduced the world to Tyson Fury. That first fight, I mean, Wilder was he was killing everything. Yeah. He was the destroyer. Everyone was like, this is the hardest puncher we've ever seen. And then Tyson Fury comes out bombastic with the way he talks, and no one expects him to win, really. Gets off the deck, outboxes the guy. It's a draw. I mean, listen, top 5 because we're talking all time and it's been so recent. I think if we look back on this 5 years from now, we're like, yeah, of course it's top 5. Like, they're awesome trilogy. Yeah. But Yeah, that's my number 5.
That one we got both.
We got that
roasted.
one together.
Roasted for that one.
I
Number
think
4. This one's on my list, but it's not on yours. Fighter Ray Leonard versus Roberto Duran. This goes with my whole thing of 2 of the 3 have to be good because their last fight was in the 90s. It was pathetic.
Yeah.
They were well past it. Shouldn't even happened.
Second fight wasn't that good either.
But the second fight had the no mas
history.
moment.
Yes.
But the first fight was epic. Fighter of the 70s, Duran versus fighter of the 80s.
Oh, first fight was one of the best fights I've ever seen.
2 of the very best. The first fight, biggest fight ever, Chris. Not have a heavyweight.
Yep.
Leonard got a $9 million purse. He was the highest paid non-heavyweight
Back then.
Back then in the 80s.
Jeez.
$9 million he got to fight. This was the huge fight. If you watch the Four Kings on Showtime, they'll show you
I love that.
how big this fight was.
Really
That's
good
the first
documentary.
fight. Obviously, Duran wins, and he's a hero, and all that comes. Then the second fight comes. Duran got fat. Duran got partied. The no mas moment.
Yep.
Maybe, I'm not looking towards technical stuff, but that was a big thing. But the first one and the second one delivered moments. Third fight sucked, but 67% of this trilogy was epic.
Okay, fair.
What's
fair.
your 4?
My number 4 is Bo Holyfield.
Oh, God.
God, the first fight was so goddamn good
Yeah.
that it belongs on the list.
The heavyweights of today look like trash.
Like, if you watch those guys fight, I mean, first of all, Riddick Bowe I think he was the first super heavyweight that we could really, really talk like the guys the way they look now. He was big, he was fast, he was strong, he had endurance, he had power, he had everything, and he was huge. The kind of like the guys we see now. He was the first of an era. And Evander Holyfield coming up from, Evander was one of the best cruiserweights who's ever lived, and his combination punching at heavyweight, his durability, his left hook, forget it. I mean, his footwork. The guy looked like he was dancing out there. That first fight was insane. The balls, the heart, the chin that Evander showed in that fight, especially the first one, is insane. The fact that he made it to the end of that fight is crazy.
High level.
Highest level.
Just no stop. All ebb and flow. Like today's heavyweights, you see a lot of standing there. You see
a lot of hugging.
A lot of hugging. None of that.
None of that.
Fan man moment.
So that was historically why this fight got there too. The fan man moment is a big deal. I remember that as a kid. It was 93.
Yeah,
I was in the 3rd grade. My grandfather told me about this. Oh my God, look at the fan! It's just wild. And then the third fight, which a lot of people at home probably don't remember this, but like Evander Holyfield was like going through like basically a heart attack during the fight. And he got stopped. And he blamed that for the reason, but he had like a hole in his heart, something really really dramatic. And one of the only times that he ever got stopped. The other one I think was James Toney.
Towards the end. Oh, he got stopped last year by Vitor Belfort.
Let's not even talk about that.
Thriller.
September 11th. Vitor's my friend, but let's not even talk about that.
On September 11th.
But yeah, so Riddick Bowe stopped Evander Holyfield in the third fight, closing out the trilogy. To this day, Riddick Bowe only has 1 loss. It's wild.
And he also dropped the belt in the trash.
Yes.
Riddick Bowe.
A lot of drama around that fight.
The one thing about the
fights.
fan man, before I move on to my number 3, the fan man, my dad was at that fight. And I remember occasionally we ordered the pay-per-views, the big ones, so we can watch. Oh, there's Dad. We see him on the TV in the back. And then the fan man came in. And I remember me and my brothers were so scared around. Do you ever hear about this?
No.
Hard no.
Yeah, I know.
A guy with a fan on his back jumped out of a plane and landed in the ring.
Into the ring while they're fighting.
On the biggest fight of the year. That's something you need to pull up. And he got
this
caught
open-
up. He caught
open
up.
ceiling
Yeah,
stadium?
open Caesar's Palace.
Yep.
Who, another thing my dad told me, was the coolest place ever to watch fights. No longer exists. It's outdoor seating, and the fights would happen like at dusk. And
Yeah, it had like a dome with a hole in the middle, like an opening, right?
I think it was wide open.
It was wide open.
Fan
Wide
man
open.
fight.
Fan man.
Fan man, yeah.
He came. You could see like the blimp. I think he
Wild.
practiced earlier in the night, and the blimp caught him earlier in the night. They had earlier in the day. They saw him like practicing it, and he came flying in, landed in the ropes, which was actually kind of low key impressive that he landed on the ropes,
I'm looking at these pictures.
the
then
fact
got-
that he hit the ring at all
Yeah.
is wild.
and then got pummeled, like beat to a pulp.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, through his helmet, dented his helmet. The fight had to be stopped for like a half hour. They put those giant towels on.
Yeah,
him.
they put big towels over Holyfield's shoulders so they could stay warm.
Yeah,
in
I was
between.
like 7 years old. I was like crying because
It was the only fight that Evander won of the 3.
Yeah,
That was the fight that he won by majority decision.
wild scenes.
Wild scenes.
Always.
I'm watching the video now.
It's nuts, bro. Number 3, I have Barrera Morales. Unbelievable fights. The first and third fights were named Ring Magazine Fight of the Year. 2000 and 2004's Fight of the Year was Barrera Morales All 3 fights were outstanding. Barrera ended up winning 2 of the 3, but all the fights were razor thin. I can go, one way or the other. The bad blood. These guys hated each other in the build-up. But the funny part
Fights
about
in the
it,
press conferences, punches, kicks, thrown.
punches, real
Kicks.
punches,
Like
kicks.
Yeah, Morales threw a kick at Barrera.
And the funny thing about it now is they're best friends. They do a podcast together. They double date with their wives. They're inseparable.
But
Will we see that from Golovkin and Canelo 10 years, 15 years from now?
I love that shit. I mean,
agree.
former foes, friends, whatever. But they're also from like 2 sides of the tracks. Tijuana, Mexico City, very different types of Mexicans. So they had that animosity like that is generational. Aside from just obviously being 2 Mexican fighters in the same era who are in their primes.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Gotti Ward.
Yeah, I got a lot of.
you feel like you sound like you're shell shocked. Like, I got a lot of heat for that.
On there. Obviously, best fight. Gotti fight won best fight of all time.
Yeah, I mean, in my
opinion,
I can understand. When we spoke about this off air, you were saying Gotti Ward, like one of those fights was classic. The other 2 were kind of one-sided-ish, but I argued that the third one was not because there was high drama. So for anyone at home who is not aware of these fights, first of all, go home and watch them immediately. Mm-hmm. It's 30 rounds. Go watch all 30 in a row.
Especially the first 10.
Grab a 6-pack of beer and watch the 30 rounds of Gotti Ward. First fight, I mean, the most hellaciously violent 10-round fight that you're ever going to see in the modern era where we actually have color television. Killed each other. Gotti gets dropped with a body shot in the ninth round. Is pummeled all over the ring.
Round's one of the best rounds ever.
The most ridiculous rounds you're going to see.
Stewart on the call.
10th round, Gotti comes back to win the box and loses a very, very close razor decision. Second fight, Gotti shows his class as a former world champion and really just tunes Ward up. Breaks his hand as well. Drops Ward early in the fight with a right hand to the eardrum. Busts his eardrum. Ward is just fighting on nuts and guts the whole rest of the way. Gotti wins a wide decision. Third fight looks like it's going to be the continuation of the second fight, and looked like to me that Gotti was going to knock Ward out. Breaks his hand on Ward's hip.
Yep.
Changes the whole fight. Has to fight one-handed from there on out. Gets dropped himself by an overhand right from Mickey Ward. Makes a very, very dramatic fight. But you're right. The 2 of them, their skill sets were very, very separate. Gotti was a much, much better fighter. But Ward was just so gutsy. So much heart, so much chin. Made for an absolute classic. I absolutely love these fights. I could watch any of them at any one time.
That should be on my list. I messed up.
Yeah, it's just tough because they're not at the level of any of these other guys.
Right. That's what
we're talking about world champions. Everyone else is all world champions.
I'm not demeaning that first fight I think is one of the best fights of all time.
Yeah.
But like you said, the last 2, I feel like these other fights,
yeah,
maybe it could have been 5. I could have had it maybe over
Ward
Fury
had,
Wilder.
12 losses when they fought the first time?
It was like put together by our friend Lou DiBella, and it was great matchmaking. And
yeah.
I was supposed to, you were there.
At all 3, actually. I was at all 3.
My God, jeez.
Crazy.
I was supposed to be at the first one, but I went to Melanie Stafford's Sweet 16 instead.
Melanie Stafford, you are canceled from this show. I don't even want you tuning in.
I don't think she's going to, but I remember.
She's out.
I think she was in. I thought I saw her.
Yeah, she's in the chat.
You kicked her out, right?
It was a great Sweet 16. We had a photo booth. I missed the best fight of all time.
If I never go to a Sweet 16 again, I'll be happy.
I went to so many on Long. I'm sure you did too.
Yeah,
Long Island. Oh my God. Did you ever go to a Sweet 16?
So many. I was part of the court for a lot of them.
What does that mean?
I was like one of the dancers with the sweets. So Hispanic culture, quinceañera.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's big.
Yeah.
It was a good Sweet 16, but it was not better than Gotti Ward.
Are you sure?
You need to clip that out. Great Sweet 16, not as good as Gotti Ward. Number 2, Pacquiao Marquez. 4 fights, spanned 8 years. Some similarities to this trilogy that we're getting between Canelo and Golovkin. First fight, first round of the first fight, so epic.
Yeah, I mean 3 knockdowns.
3 knockdowns.
And then come back to get a draw.
Come back to get
Marquez.
a draw.
Wild.
The whole thing was epic. Ends with the 4th fight that nobody wanted, and it ends with Manny Pacquiao absolutely laid out in the arms of Mitt Romney. He fell into Mitt Romney's lap.
Face down.
Pacquiao iced. Exclamation point. Could see that tomorrow night.
We could. We could. I don't think so, but we could.
We could see that tomorrow night, Chris.
But you have to remember that Pacquiao was beating the shit out of Marquez prior to that
knocked
knockout.
him down.
Broke his nose. Was really. I mean, he got dropped himself, Pacquiao, but like he was really, really tuning Marquez up in a way that we had never seen in the prior 3 fights.
What was that, 2012? And you fought him 2 years after that?
Yeah.
Damn. Pacquiao, and then he went away for a while, and then he fought Rios.
Fought Rios
Then he fought
first,
you.
then he fought me, then he fought
Mayweather.
Tim again, Bradley.
Oh,
then he
then
fought
Mayweather.
Vargas. Then right after me, he fought Tim again, beat him again in the 3rd time.
Pacquiao Marquez is my number 2. What's your number 2?
Barrera Morales. I mean, I vividly remember watching this on my friend Vinny Russo's. I was sitting on his carpet in front of his bed watching this fight on HBO on a TV about as big as this computer screen right here, and just freaking out. And as soon as we were done, we just did push-ups because it was just such a badass fight.
Oh my god!
But all of those fights were awesome. I was a huge Barrera fan, always was. I hated that, even though Junior Jones is the man. Hated that he beat Barrera those 2 times, poison. But huge Barrera fan. So for me, it was kind of like that was like, when you root for your team, I was rooting for Barrera all 3 of those fights. So I was like always like on edge. Oh, just like so much. I want you to win. I want you to win. I want you to win.
First fight was so good that the second was a pay-per-view. And
at that time,
that was not a thing.
Yeah.
Al Bernstein just checked in. Hall of Fame broadcaster, one of
Al.
the best to ever do it. Dan, I have to go against your Duran Leonard pick.
Hey,
Second fight ended weird. Third fight was a dud. I like the others on your list, on both lists.
Aye.
Add
Al
Marquez Vasquez.
Okay. Those fights are brutal and good. And I got like a bad taste in my mouth from those. I don't know why. Like they're so violent. Marquez Vasquez's eye is still really bad. And also I feel like neither one of them were the same ever again after those fights. I hate that. That's not why they're not on my list, but that's what comes to mind thinking about that.
All right, and then obviously number 1, Ali Frazier. I feel like we don't even have to talk about it.
It's the only reason I didn't put. So I think Barrera Morales actually for me is probably the number 1. But
you can't do a trilogy list without putting Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier.
That's so corny. We both did that, but yeah, it's
like so we don't like get our jobs revoked.
Yeah, we'd be fired from the boxing. The boxing gods would literally strike us down.
They cancel us. John Boy here probably
Apollo
would.
and Rocky would literally kick us out.
Exactly. Like if we don't put Ali Frazier number 1, then
yeah.
Oh, we probably should have put it 2. If we really want to be hot take artists, don't put Ali Frazier on the list at all.
Oh.
And then watch the numbers.
Yeah.
Comments.
And then I just say Ali overrated.
Because I had Pacquiao.
Not the greatest.
Pacquiao Morales was another one that I had on my broader list.
Oh, they're good
Those
too.
fights
We could probably
sick.
you can do 10, but we kept it to 5. We'll end on this. Once they step into the ring tomorrow night, it's officially a trilogy. Will this slide into a top 5 given how good those first 24 rounds were?
Yes. First 2 fights were great. Simple as again, if they're watching them this week, I mean, these fights are awesome. And it's 2 guys that are really, really important in the sport. And I think regardless of what happens tomorrow night, I think these guys will be on a top 10, potentially top 5 list.
Who knows how it's going to end tomorrow night? The trilogy comes to an end. If you're listening to this with us today, I appreciate everyone in the chat. We're going to start doing more live shows, more and more. We have our live stream tomorrow night, 8 p.m. on the John Boy Boxing YouTube page. Tell a friend. If you're not going to order the fight and you want us to be your eyes and ears, you're going to have a good time. Ronnie's going to wear those glasses. We're going to have some adult beverages. We're going to order food. We're going to give our commentary. Hopefully something crazy happens. We're going to have everything tomorrow night, 8 p.m. on the John Boy Boxing YouTube page. Who knows? This could be an absolute barn burner. We can get a crazy night. We all have a good time. And if you're listening to this, on the podcast on Saturday, get ready for a huge fight. Chris, any final words?
Yeah, and if it's not a barn burner, it'll be fun watching and listening to me and you talk shit.
Exactly. We're going to talk a lot of shit. We're going to hopefully there's some crazy shit happens. Fan man comes to mixes. No, he actually died. Let's end there. Goodbye, everyone.